Hello, my name is Cronus Adair, and this is X4 Foundations.
Awaiting orders.
As you see, a little bit of time has passed, and we're responding to an emergency incursion into Family Takir. Right now, the Xenon are pressing deeply into Family Takir, and Fires of Defeat. And if they isolate both systems, that will cut off the core Free Family sectors, plus Tharka's Fall, which we have claimed as our sector. So, we are going to be moving into Fires of Defeat with my formidable carrier combat group. And we're going to establish a presence there. So, a bit of a strategic update. I was getting into the mid game, which tends to be basically building up economy with the occasional storyline, so I was doing that. I decided I need deployable assets, and I didn't like how Family Jin and Haktivah's Choice 1 were coming down, so I decided to build carrier task groups. So this is the Illustrious. It is a Argon Colossus carrier. Of the available carriers, it's okay. I mean, technically the Rattlesnake is better, but the Rattlesnake is very focused. This is better at launching and deploying smalls and mediums than the Rattlesnake is, and while it doesn't have the capacity, and it doesn't have anywhere near as many turrets, it's still quite useful. I went and furthered my idea for layered fleet defense. And what I've got is all of my capital ships mount several tracking turrets. In the case of the Colossus, it's got one large tracking turret and eight small tracking turrets. And those are armed with... Oh, this has got light smart missiles, but other than this, most of them are mounting interceptor missiles. And the idea is the interceptors, the cutlasses and odachis that I'm using, will launch out to 40 kilometers for an outer intercept zone. The light missiles will create a 10-kilometer medium intercept zone. And the nice thing is the interceptor also has a anti-drive function, which will help the interceptors further. Then, of course, I have my traditional flak turrets for close-in defense. My primary space superiority fighter is the Cutlass. It is proprietary technology, so it is recognizable as a Titan network solution ship throughout the Gate network. And while it may not be the best light fighter, it is good. It has solid stats, and it is cheap, which is important for an attritional unit. The Cutlasses are backed up by the Odachi Corvettes, which are again a proprietary technology. The Odachi is very high firepower. As you see, 1800 burst, 1400 sustained. And for a Corvette, it is highly maneuverable. It may not be as fast as a Katana, but it doesn't have anywhere near the inertia that a Katana has. So it's much more maneuverable. So right now, my task forces consist of a Colossus carrier, 1 to 2 destroyer groups, then a Atlas, logistics ship, and this is to resupply missiles and repair ships. I wanted to put missiles on this one as well, but unfortunately it only has 4 turret groups, which give it 360-degree coverage. If I take away any turrets to mount missiles, that will leave a gap in its close-in coverage. So, my two carriers so far are the Illustrious and the Formidable. The two Atlases are the Atlas Shrugged. And the Fountainhead. Bonus points for whoever can realize where the naming conventions for the Illustrious, Formidable, Fountainhead, and Atlas Shrugged came from. We have had several people named destroyers. Shout out to T Skillet. He has gave me several shout outs on his channel. He's an excellent X4 content creator, and he named one of the Phoenixes the Death Shadow. Another viewer, Paradox Audiovisual Product 9430, wanted a destroyer named the Chimichanga, which we have done. Then I actually managed to capture two rattlesnakes. One of which I've named the Flame of Adair for a viewer named Thumb Ugly. So, strategic situation. I captured one of the rattlesnakes as it was attacking the Talati Wharf. The Talati Wharf actually got down to 6% structural before I managed to save it, essentially, and capture the rattlesnake. The second rattlesnake was cheekily down in my system of Mists of Artemis, and that's not allowed. I don't like Fallen Families rattlesnakes pirating my traffic in Mists of Artemis. Hop have lost their shipyard in Holy Vision. They hit a heavy push by the God Realm. God Realm have taken Pontifex's claim and are slowly reducing the hop stations in it. Holy Vision is also getting hard pressed by Void of Opportunity, and Hop actually tried to put up a replacement shipyard in Void of Opportunity, which was quickly bashed down by the Talati. The loss of the Hops shipyard in Holy Vision kind of accelerated my timetable a little bit. I ended up putting up a shipyard in Mists of Artemis, as you see here. And I've pretty much dedicated this to the Hop. It is building ships for the Terrans and the HOP, and I'm pretty much the HOP's only source of capital ships at this point because it has no other shipyards. But we are building destroyers, we're building large traders. You can see just built a destroyer 5 minutes ago, and they ordered another destroyer. You can see that right there. So we are essentially the only thing propping up HOPs in their capital ship strength at the moment. Now, how I got the money to build the facilities and get the blueprints, it's not something I liked doing, but I had to, given I needed money fast. And what I ended up doing is from my Titan Fleet Yards, this is Titan Fleet Yards. It's wholly dedicated to building ships for the Terran Protectorate and Sagaris Pioneers. But what I would do is I would build a High Priest Falx, load it up with advanced satellites, and I would sell that to the Terran yards. And this would be worth something like 40 million. I'd build 8 of them at a time. Yes, it got me the credits I needed to buy all of the build modules and blueprints. I'm still missing a couple support ship blueprints for the Terrans, but It really stressed my economy. It used up pretty much all of my built-up Computronic substrate at Titan Fleet Yards, which have come back up. But at the time, I'd used them all up, and that also affected how fast my factories were going up. And I think it had an effect of supercharging the Terran economy, because they did send out several fleets. Now, through the Terran Guild mechanic, Terran versus Xenon Guild, we've been building several ships, or not ships, stations for the Terrans. So as you see, Terrans have a presence in 2 Grand. They have a presence in Zayas Dominion. It looks like they're putting up another factory. And, most importantly, they have a presence in Haktivah's Choice 1. Now, the Formidable Task Force I had originally had set up to protect the Tharkas Cascade Gate and Haktivah's Choice. Unfortunately, I had to divert that task force to prevent Fires of Defeat from falling. Okay, and Fires of Defeat has officially flipped Xenon. Unfortunately, it flipped Xenon before I could get my defense platform up, but I'll be getting that up shortly. And once that's up, we will be contesting the system. Here we are aboard the latest member of the fleet, the TNS Lexington, our first Asgard-class battleship. And I have modified this to a fare thee well.
Awaiting orders.
So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be using the Lexington
Xenon defense platform
to bash down the defense platforms that are testing the system with us. And you can see our defense platform is slowly going up. But our covering fleet should be able to handle anything that tries to approach us. Along with the Asgard, I've got 2 Osakas.
Osaka.
The Denver and the Cleveland, providing escort. They are set on defend. They're mainly there to provide anti-fighter escort. Speaking of anti-fighter escort, make sure the Xenon I've got docked on top of the Lexingtons, set to attack fighters first. The medium turrets on the Asgard's top are tracking missile turrets, and the bottom turrets are flak. That way, between the Xenon and the others, I've got all around 360 degree coverage. And you can see the interceptor missiles already going into action. Plasmas are opening up. Now the Asgard has something like 1,200 missile capacity. So yeah. With 4 tracking turrets worth of missiles, I've got anti-fighter for days. Out to about, I think it's 10 kilometers. Now that the constructed elements are gone, I'm going to let our plasmas do the rest of the work on the unconstructed bits. Now we do want to keep an eye out. There are Xenon capitals about. Although there don't appear to be any in system
Awaiting
currently.
orders.
There was an I and several Ks around. Looks like they've gone into Matrix number 9. Interesting. Isn't she beautiful? TNS Lexington, the Blue Ghost. Alright, we want to stick just out of range and let my main gun do most of the work. There we go, we're in range. Have to try to not overheat the main guns, but essentially we want to stay out of even plasma range for the moment. I don't necessarily want to trigger this thing's drones. You can see all of our anti-fighter weapons going into action. Interceptor missiles going out against that PE. Careful. Stay well out of graviton range there.
Awaiting orders.
Then looks like the middle module's going up. Alright, we've got a eye destroyer.
I.
40 kilometers out and closing.
Xenon defense platform.
Keep an eye on that.
I.
Mr. I seems to be taking his time. I don't mind.
I.
Xenon spotted.
Danger. Xenon defense platform.
Alright. We'll now turn to engage the eye. Alright. Target. Eye front. Fire.
M.
Target serviced. Now that's quite a difference from taking it out with the Sin. Alright, at this point we're going to approach the defense platform and let our plasmas engage. Whoa, we're out of missiles? That's surprising. There we go. Plasmas are engaging the station.
N.
And that's that defense platform. Fires of Defeat now belongs to Titan Network Solutions. Alright, and the Lexington's captain is automatically going back to the Fountainhead to rearm. Nice system. And the Lexington is maneuvering to dock with the Fountainhead.
Atlas.
And re-ammunition. Oh, hey, look. Hopper trying to put a shipyard up in Pontifex's claim now. Let's see if they can actually do it this time. Alright, and we have assembled a third carrier task force to block the Tharkus Cascade gate in Haktivah's Choice. Meet TNS Victorious. Dachi's flying off to intercept. EM guns blazing.
Xenon spotted. Requesting permission to dock.
Docking permission granted.
Alright, we're here assaulting the final station
Wild shot. Sorry about that.
in Fires of Defeat. Let's see if we can get through this without losing one of the Osakas. And that is the solar power plant finished off. We have officially eliminated all Xenon stations from within Fires of Defeat. So we are moving to support the Terran Intervention Corps because they came through Fires of Defeat and began assaulting Xenon defense platforms in Matrix 9.
Danger. 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 Danger.
We cannot tolerate your actions.
Danger.
And this here is the drone swarm I had anticipated at the solar power plant.
Danger.
Last order could not be completed.
But our layered defenses seem to be
Danger.
handling the drone swarm quite well.
Danger.
I didn't mean to do that. Sorry.
So I realized that I forgot to go over what ship I was using as a bomber. And that was tough because you don't get a unique ship like you do with the Cutlass and the Odachi. Now I could go Terran and Meson streams, but that's very resource intensive and I don't necessarily like the Meson stream as a weapon. However, what I do like are blast mortars. And the Shi, while yes, they're used by the pirates and the Vagar pirates in the Avarice systems, are still fairly unique. So the only people who are going to be using them are us and the Vagar. The other candidate was the Yaki Maria. Yaki Maria is faster and more maneuverable.
Awaiting orders.
The Shi is tougher. Not quite as quick, but still decently fast. But it does have more HP, and I think I like that in a bomber. Anyway, that's that. So now that our defense platform is contesting the system, it's time to start going after the wharf and the shipyard. And the other thing I realized is I didn't really talk about the development of the Asgard. So the neat thing about the Asgard is it was basically developed by a mad scientist. The main weapon, the giant death laser on the front of it, is literally called a fusion beam cannon, and it was developed by a mad Terran scientist who was trying to figure out a way to counter Xeon on capital ships. So this mad scientist literally figured out how to put the largest giant death beam they could mount on something mobile. Initially, the Terrans didn't want it, and the scientist himself disappeared in a shroud of mystery, so no one really knows what happened to him. But that didn't stop the Intervention Corps from taking the plans, taking the closest platform they had, which was the Sin Destroyer. And what they did was they expanded the Sin out to the point where it could mount the fusion death ray, the fusion beam cannon that the Asgard mounts. And of course ballooned the hull size up to an XL hull. But you still have 3 primary forward weapons. And it essentially turned it into 2 Sins because it has 16 turrets instead of 8. 4 on each broadside. So, and that's the Asgard. It's essentially two sins slapped together
Awaiting orders.
with a hot fusion beam cannon in the middle. And that's the reason the Sin isn't in series production anymore. Why waste resources on the Sin when you have the Asgard? And you can see my Osaka there intercepting all of the incoming drones. And our missiles are going out to assist. If we can take out both of these central nodes and the actual shipbuilding module, that should reduce the incoming drone swarm. But the Osaka is doing its job, taking the heat of the drones off of the Asgard. Just as long as it stays out of graviton range. Alright, that's that.
Engine.
Alright, Cleveland's still...
Osaka.
No,
Defense drone. Osaka.
it's taking graviton hits. Crap. I think we're gonna lose... Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there.
Shield damage. Shields are down.
Okay. So the Cleveland's already set to run and go get repairs. So we're gonna hopefully it'll be able to get away from the drones. With its shields coming up, we should be okay. Shields seem to be stable.
Xenon Wharf.
Let's get after this wharf. Cleveland should be able to disengage, and it looks like the Denver's going to help her.
Gian.
And if anyone's curious,
Awaiting orders.
the ship docked on top is a Terran Xenon with 6 flak turrets, which is why I'm comfortable turning all of the dorsal turrets into missile turrets on the Asgard. I'm not really compromising its close-in anti-fighter support. Okay, her shields are nearly completely up. Awesome. Well, the Osakas are doing their job, distracting the Xenon drones away from my Asgard.
Awaiting orders.
Okay, something's alive. 2%. Oh, there's a defense module that's obstructed. Okay. Now, one of the weaknesses of the fixed weapon is that it doesn't gimbal like other weapons do. You have to physically turn the ship, and since the Asgard is a XL ship, she turns like a beached whale.
Awaiting orders.
Alright. There it is, it's shooting gravitons at me. There's something else that's alive? Ah, yeah, just as I thought. Looks like there might be something out at the other end of the wharf. So it looks like the Denver's over there firing at it. Yep, now I'm taking graviton fire. There you are.
Drone 4.
And that's the wharf reduced.
Awaiting orders.
Ah, there you are. Somehow it got deassigned from my fleet. That's fine. Okay. So I used about half my missile loadout. So after some consideration, while I like the interceptor missile, it just doesn't have good combat endurance. So I've switched to light smart missiles. And despite the drone swarm, I managed to get through that fight with about 50% of the Lexington's magazines. So let's head over and take the shipyard out. That will eliminate Xenon shipbuilding capability in this pocket. And it'll also mean that the sector will become mine. Alright, looks like the Cleveland got reassigned to escort the Lexington and is coming back from getting repairs. Excellent. Alright, that's in the middle of building a K, so I believe our first target's going to be to take that out. Let's do a quick travel drive jump to get into range. Alright. That went up. Now we'll take out this central module.
Awaiting orders.
SE.
All right. That is the shipyard eliminated. And Matrix 9 now belongs to us. And here comes a major Xenon fleet. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Ks. And lots of supporting fighters. This is going to get interesting.
K.
We're going to take command of the Lexington and see how this goes.
You may live to regret that. Eat space.
Is that the best you've got?
stop firing?
Alright. Target. K, front. On the way.
F. Shield generator.
Time to wait you out.
K.
K. Target. K. Front.
B.
On the way.
K.
K. Front. On the way.
F. K.
Gauge full reverse. K. Target front. On the way. We are in a cooling cycle.
Suck vacuum. You'll regret that. Engaging.
B. E. K.
We found something out here.
Yeah, ignore it.
You're cooked.
Come on, main gun.
New attack orders. Scramble.
Acknowledge.
I need to get out of here.
Alright. K destroyed. Target forward K. Main gun.
You
Fire.
might regret
F.
that.
Target.
Prepare to be wiped out.
K.
Target K. Front. On the way.
Striking.
B. E. K.
Target K. Front. On
I.
the way. Full boost. Get out of range of the eye.
You're finished.
Okay, we're out of graviton range. Man, what a fight.
You may live to regret that.
Alright. Main gun. Target. Eye. Front. Fire. On the way. That's target. Okay. Well, that was exciting. Let's get the Fountainhead on rescue duty. Probably going to need to do some rearmament. Alright. What was the butcher's bill? One Odachi. 2 Odachis, 1 cutlass. 2 cutlasses. Wow, we took all that on and only lost 2 Odachi and 2 cutlass.
Awaiting orders.
Holy crap. And that severely
Last order
reduced
cannot be completed.
the Xenon threat in the system. Holy hell.
Awaiting orders.
Awaiting orders.
I'll be frank, that was the biggest fight I've ever been in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Awaiting orders.
8K and an I. And that's a lot of fighters. Our defense platform in Matrix 451 is now going up. Now it's time to start reducing the rest of the Xenon in the system. Perfect. Target K front. On the way.
N,
Target.
M. Xenon defense platform.
Oh my god, what are you doing?
Cutlass. Osaka.
Denver, get out of there before the
Xenon
gravitons
defense
start targeting
platform.
you. Oh, that's not good for my heart. They're gonna go after the far side. I'm gonna go after the near side. Gravitons are targeting the Denver. We're going to nip that in the bud. We overheated. But we took out... Okay, looks like they're maneuvering to get out of there. Looks like they're safely out of range. Whew. Looks like that's the only remaining portion of the station. Plasmas in the game.
Awaiting orders.
And now Matrix 451 is our lovely green color.
Awaiting orders.
So, I'm doing this out of order, but I realized something I haven't done is explained how I set up a carrier fleet. And now that I've got the station up and running and defensible, what I'll do is I will remove all the ships from the formidable fleet. Okay, so this is how I typically set up a carrier fleet. The internal fighters I will name after the carrier itself. So as you see, I've got Formidable Cutlass, Formidable She, Formidable Odachi. Now, what I do to figure out how many I should load on the carrier. Information, ship overview. Okay. So, this ship has 4 medium docks and 8, and it's capable of storing 8 medium ships internally. So, this ship can carry 12 medium ships. Then, as far as the S-Docks go, it's got 8 S-Docks right there. and can carry 28 S-class ships internally. Okay, so it can hold up to 36 fighters. Now, there's different strategies to running carriers. Okay, ships like the Colossus, they have both S-class launch pads and recovery pads, and if you notice these 5 squares on the front and 5 on the back, those are actually launch tubes. If an internally docked fighter has an attack order, it will actually launch from those launch tubes rather than having to go through the launch pads. Okay? Only small ships can do that, and not all carriers have launch tubes. The Terran Tokyo and the Split Rattlesnake do not have launch tubes. But most of the other carriers do. So that helps with its launch speed. It doesn't help with its recovery speed. Now, ships like the Tokyo and the Rattlesnake, they actually have an internal launch bay where they carry between 16 to 20 docking pads for small ships. And you actually have to fly the length of the internal ship to dock and undock. That can be a bit unwieldy. And sometimes what you do to kind of avoid that is just load the ship with its pad capacity. Okay? Because the Split Raptor, the Rattlesnake, it's the Split Raptor, can launch 20 fighters at once, but it only has one M docking pad, and it can only land 3 small ships at a time, fighters at a time. So while the Rattlesnake can hold 100 fighters and something like 20 medium class ships, I'd have to look at the encyclopedia entry to be sure. It can't launch all those at the same time, and recovery of all those would take even longer. But ships like the Colossus here are fairly efficient when it comes to landing and launching its assigned fighters and mediums. Probably the best carrier in the game as far as launching and recovering internally stored ships is probably the Boron Shark. But I haven't opened up the Boron yet on my Terran Cadet playthrough, so I don't have that option yet. Hence the Colossus. It's got a decent turret layout. It's got decent capacity. It's got more capacity than the parented version. And I think it's just a better carrier than the Talati version. Now, I will make note that I do have a mod that removes all Sentinel and Vanguard versions of capitals in the game that have E versions. And technically, those make better carriers than the E versions because they can store more ships internally than the E versions can. But the E versions look a lot better. And they tend to have better shield and hull points. Pros and cons. I'd rather have a prettier game, what can I say? So, now that we've figured out what our capacity is, 12 medium ships and 36 small ships, that is where I'll lay out my fleet. Now, I tend to like to do a 50-50 split on space superiority fighters or interceptors. So I've got 18 Cutlass, and I've got 18 She. So what I'll do is I will right-click on the carrier. Now, you've got various commands. A ship assigned to Defend Commander will pretty much only respond when the commander, the carrier in this particular circumstance, is attacked. Attack with commander only activates when you give their commander a attack order, or their commander has an attack order. Intercept for commander will make said ship sortie out to attack small and medium ships. Bombard for commander is a little tricky based on the word bombard. This actually has the same behavior for intercept, but it's for large and extra large ships, so your capitals. So then follow commander. The ship does nothing but tag along behind its commander. And mimic commander's behavior, I've shown that on my how to set up a mining depot. That's mainly for civilian ships. It has a couple other applications, but it basically, the ship does everything the commander's set up to do, and does nothing else really. But you can have that going for
The mission was a complete
a
success.
pretty wide area. Okay, so my Shis are blast mortar fit, and they're designed to be bombers. So we're going to assign them as bombard for commander, and I'll have them alpha. The Cutlass is my space superiority fighter. So I will select that, and I will have them intercept for commander. Now the Odachi is an interesting corvette. It's actually got quite high sustained DPS for a medium ship. So it could be used for bombard, but medium ships tend to be very easy prey for capitals. So I usually set them intercept, but I can change that whenever I want. So intercept for commander. So as we see my Asgard, the Lexington, towering above us, the Shi fighters should start coming in for landing. That is a big boy. Oh, here we go. A Cutlass came in first. No, there's a Shi. Looks like the fighters are having trouble getting between the Lexington and the Formidable. So they land and go out down into internal storage. Takes a couple seconds to finish. And now the pad's available for another ship to land.
Awaiting orders.
And as you see, this is quite a rapid process. The Boron Shark has a virtual landing pad, which makes this even faster.
Last order could not be completed.
The Shark's virtual landing pads basically extend out from either side of the ship, and the fighter lands on the pads and gets yanked into the docking bay. Then from the docking bay, it gets put into internal storage. And now you can see Odachi coming up on the pads up top and landing. Now, as far as the Split Raptor goes, the ships land in the back. Like I said, it can route in 3 small and 1 medium at a time. And land in a docking bay. And to launch, they pretty much fly the length of the ship and go out the quote-unquote mouth. The Tarian Tokyo is very similar, only it has two kind of landing bays to either side of the snout, the docking bay.
Last order could not be completed.
And because of the layout, it lands fighters a little bit faster than the Rattlesnake does. Now, as you see, the Colossus isn't pulling these ships down into internal storage. That's because they've hit capacity and everyone has landed. You see that she is landing right now. So let's go up to the medium docking area. And we can see the Odachi docked on top of the ship. Alright. So, I've assigned fighters to the Formidable. Now, if your fighters are missile armed, your carrier has the capacity, as container capacity to hold wares.
Not be completed.
Those wares are designed to rearm your fighters. So, one thing to keep in mind: preferred build method: Universal, Closed Loop, or Terran. If you use Universal, it'll want missile parts, hull parts, and energy cells. If you do Closed Loop, it just wants energy cells, hull parts, and Claytronics. If it's Terran, it'll want Computronic substrate, metallic microlattice, and silicon carbide. Neat thing about Closed Loop is most missiles are pure energy cells. So it can turn energy cells directly into ammunition. Hooray! Now what happens when the carrier runs out of energy cells? So that's why you have ships like my Atlas Auxiliary, the Fountainhead. So I chose the Atlas because it's got decent hull and shield HP, decent speed, decent carrying capacity,
Awaiting orders.
and it can hold a clutch of fighters. It can hold 16 internally, 8 more on the pads for a total of 24. It can also hold up to 6 medium ships, launching 2 at a time. So, I have 16 Cutlass assigned to interception. Now, what just happened with the carrier, as far as the fighters coming in and landing on it, is unique to carriers. All other ships, the ships will remain in space unless their attached capital ship is going to be traveling for a long distance. Then the fighters will come in and land. They also don't respond to intercept orders from internal storage like the carrier does. Then I also have these Minotaur Raiders that are configured for traders. And what will happen is the Minotaur Raiders, if the auxiliary ship is getting low on supplies, will go out and trade to fill the auxiliary ship's capacity back up. The auxiliary ship will also supply the carrier. The auxiliary ship will also resupply any capital ship in the fleet that is using missiles and running low on ammunition. And as you've seen in the course of this episode, I have used multiple capital ships with anti-fighter ammunition. Now, to get it to operate, what you do is you right-click on your carrier, Supply Commander's Fleet. Alright, now that any ship assigned to the Formidable, including the Formidable, can go to the Atlas, my Fountainhead, and get resupplied. So if a destroyer gets damaged, it will go to the fountainhead and get repairs. And the nice thing about that is it's free. You don't have to go to a faction shipyard or equipment deck and pay to get your ships repaired. Alright. Now, say you have capital ships you want to assign. In this case, I have the Delilah Swansong. I've got 2 rattlesnakes, my Flame of Adair and the as yet to be named Rattlesnake, assigned to the Delilah Swansong on attack. So what will happen is any ship, any target the Delilah Swansong is attacking, these 2 will also attack. So, Delilah Swansong, TNS Formidable, Bombard for Commander, Delta. And now, those destroyers, led by the Delilah Swansong, will attack any capital ship that gets within sensor range of the Formidable. And the Formidable has a standard 40-kilometer sensor range. So anything within 40 kilometers, any capital ship that gets within 40 kilometers will start attacking that capital ship, centered on where the Delilah Swansong is. Now, centered on where the Formidable is. Now, I could also put the Odachis, Cutlasses, and Shis into subfleets inside the carrier. The problem is I've generally found when I do that, the internally stored ships don't launch as efficiently. So unfortunately, instead of having nice little 3 or 4 ship teams like here, or here, which are assigned to defend the defense platform going up, I have to leave them as unassigned and in the general. If anyone knows a better system to get grouped ships to launch from a carrier, feel free to say so in the comments. I haven't found one. Okay. Now, when I'm not personally piloting the Lexington, I'll also assign the Lexington to Bombard for Commander in Delta as well. It won't assign the Lexington into the Delilah Swansong's fleet unless I actually click on Delilah Swansong to do that. Now, I have the Cleveland and the Denver, my 2 Osakas, assigned to Lexington as the defense role. So anything that attacks the Lexington, they will attack. They're mainly there to be anti-fighter escorts. I also have the Lexington's Xenon docked on top of the Lexington. And I specifically have Lexington. I look in my loadout. The Kappa, which is where the Xenon was set to docked. Alright, that will keep that ship docked on the launch pad. And the Xenon's turrets will actually target small ships that come in and attack the Lexington. Which is why I have the Lexington's dorsal medium turret set for missile launching tracking turrets, and the ventral turrets set for flak turrets. Alright, I've got the Xenon to defend the Asgard from its dorsal section. I've got the flak turrets underneath, and the ventral to defend it underneath. So that gives me 360 coverage, while still having the 2 tracking turrets to intercept fighters from 10 kilometers out and closer. And that's pretty much how I set up a carrier-based fleet. Now, something else that's unique to carriers. I'm going to change its default behavior to hold position. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the carrier into family to cure. And we're going to come And have the Formidable move right over here. Okay, now that the carrier is in roughly the position we want, something that's unique to carriers is if you have them set to protect position, generally a lot of times on protect position I'll narrow the radius. That keeps the ship in a tighter area around where I want it to protect. Actually, let's narrow that back down to 10 kilometers. Okay. So, I can have ships assigned to the carrier. So, for example, my beta group Cutlass, going to right-click, then join position defense. Notice this little green semicircle popped up. And if I go to my fighter docking area, you can see my cutlasses flying off, being retrieved from internal storage. And the sheaths are coming back up on deck because all the cutlasses are off. And the cutlasses will remain in space, and any enemies that they have fire orders to attack will be attacked. Now I'll do the same thing with the Odachi group. Join position defense. And I'll pull this over nearby. So they'll fly around an area centered around where these green semicircles are. And I'll also do the same for the Delta group. Join position defense. If we go back to where the Odachi are, we can watch the Odachi launching from their launch pads. More Odachi being pulled up from internal storage. Oh, got a little bit of a collision going on there. And they launch. Nice and efficient. And when ships are on position of defense, they will attack any target that comes within their range, not just fighters or capital ships. And in the combat in Matrix 451 that I just fought, which I'll probably call the Battle of Matrix 451, the ships were mainly on position defense. The Odachi and the Cutlass and the Delilah Swansong. I was piloting the Lexington, so it didn't have orders to attack anything specific because I was giving its orders. In fact, ships that you assume personal command of will be removed from the fleet they're in. Then once you release the controls, they'll go back to the said fleet. Now, 2 caveats. I like to leave the bombers docked inside the carrier on a bombardment command. This is to protect them because they're a lot more expensive than the Cutlass. And I don't necessarily want them targeted and shot at first. So when a large ship comes within range of the Formidable, they will automatically launch and attack. Then I also leave the Cutlasses assigned to the auxiliary ship on an intercept order. So this will give that much more weight coming in against any light or medium class ship well, small or medium class ship that comes near this fleet. And that's pretty much how all of my carrier fleets are set up. So if I go to the illustrious protecting family Jin, they're set up the same way. Although I do have the groups slightly differently. But I've got the Odachi
Awaiting
and
orders.
Cutlass on position defense, the Shi's on bombardment. I've got 2 destroyer groups on position defense, and I've got the Atlas Shrugged, the auxiliary ship, set
Last
to
order
supply
cannot
fleet.
be completed.
And this is running fairly efficiently. I'm occasionally losing a Cutlass or a Shi, but the attrition rate is quite acceptable. Quite acceptable indeed. So that is how I set up my fleets, especially my carrier-led fleets. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Okay, so now that I've got my fleet in position here, I'm actually going to show you what happens when multiple factions contest a system. Then the system owner loses control of that system. Okay, so in Family Takir, we have Xenon ownership. It is contested. It is actually a 3-way contestation. Xenon own it. The Split have a claim via their defense platform and their equipment dock. And we have our own defense platform up. Now,
Reporting back for duty. The mission was a complete success.
one school of thought says that when one faction loses
Reporting back
control,
for duty. The mission was a complete success.
whichever faction was the second claimant will receive ownership. So in that case, it would flip to the free families, or the the free family split. However, what's actually going to happen, since my faction's contesting it, is it will go unclaimed contested. And it will stay unclaimed contested until there's only one faction with an admin module or other module that can lay claim. Large and extra large ship docks and maintenance bays count for this. Alright, so what's actually going to happen is it will go neutral, and we will get to see that in real time. Alright, the Xenon defense platform is at 1% hull. It should be down shortly, and we will see the result. And there we go. We got to see in real time it has flipped to unclaimed. Governing faction contested. Alright. Now, since my faction and the Free Families are the only ones contesting the system, it will stay unclaimed. No one will try to claim the system unless they neighbor them. And everyone's at least one jump out. So, there we go. So, we still have some cleanup to do. There are Xenon contesting Tharka's Ravine 24. We ought to get some patrols up here in Fires of Defeat because of the fallen families, but they're actually attacking a Zyarth rattlesnake. Cool, cool. Then we have a couple solar plants in Matrix 9, one more left in Matrix 451. We have our first attempt at a Snuggles-style zone control station. So we have ammunition, heavy dumbfires, and light interceptors. And it's slowly supplying itself with its own energy cells. And right now the outer bastions are currently going up. So for a first try, this is okay. I'm not sure I actually like the design. My second attempt, going up in Matrix 9, 451, and Family Takir is here. We have an Argon station. We've got conventional defense platforms. It's going to have missile platforms on each outlier. What's important though is to have container storage and energy cell production, because these are on closed loop production, and on closed loop production all they need is energy cells to supply the missiles defense platforms. And I've got outlying stations on each of the cardinal points, the horizontal, the upper deck, and the lower deck. And they consist of the disc defense platforms armed with heavy dumbfire turrets, and the medium turrets are all tracking. The bridge defense platforms are plasma flaks for close-in defense as things get closer to the station. So we've got interceptors coming from all the outer bastions, and we've got interceptors and dumbfires coming from the inner citadel. Now I'll probably do something similar for Getsufune, but instead of the admin center in the center, I'll probably switch to some Terran storage. I'll have to experiment, see what looks good, works good. But yeah, we have a plan. So those stations are going up in Matrix 9, Matrix 451, and Family Takir. So I'll pretty much have 3 family split space cordoned off. I have all of their entry routes to the rest of the network. I also have my system in Tharka's Fall, which has a energy cell plant, which I probably overdid. It's actually full. Its container storage is full. 500k an hour. Ha! Yeah, I overdid it. I'll have to add some more storage. I have a hull part factory, which is happily producing hull parts. It is complete. You see we're doing a split style. And this is... it is actually full of hull parts. So I probably need to start assigning traders to automatically ship stuff out, and probably add some more container storage. So the plan is I'll have hull parts and Claytronics production eventually. I still need to get the blueprints for Claytronics production in Tharka's Fall. I'll set up another manufacturing node in Matrix 451, where this is where I'll put another shipyard complex. Matrix 451 because it has 200% sunlight, which will be very nice for production stations and shipyards. I'll need to clean up the solar power plants, but yeah. We'll have mining and state production in Matrix 451. This station will be set up to sell ships to the Free Families and Zyarth Split, probably the Talati, and maybe even the Paranid, the God Realm Paranid, because they're close by. And as this comes online, and as we start to investigate deeper into what's going on into the Split territory, I'll probably be moving the Illustrious task force off and let Zyarth try to defend Family Jin themselves and see how good a job they do or don't. I'll be putting up a similar station in Getsufun to help guard the gate to Savage Spur. This is to assist the Terrans and reduce the amount of potential Xenon traffic coming through Getsufune. Alright, beyond that, we have our plans. And one last thing I'll exemplify. My Artemis Fleet Yard station in Mists of Artemis is making a crap ton of money selling ships to HOP. I'm selling destroyers. I'm selling Heracles construction vessels. I'm selling Helios. I'm selling all their lights and mediums too. So yeah, I am pretty much the HOP's primary fleet supplier because, oh, they can't seem to put up a shipyard, but it looks like they might succeed in putting a shipyard up in Pontifex's claim. I'll have to get some satellites on that and see exactly what's going on, but this is the 4th shipyard they've tried to put up. They've tried to put up, actually it's the 3rd. They tried to put up one in Void of Opportunity and a previous one in Pontifex's Claim. This is their 3rd. So if they can get it up, hooray. But yeah, HOP are kind of struggling, and I don't like that. Problem is the God Realm are pretty well situated. Yeah, their shipyard is extremely well supplied. Their wharf is pretty well supplied. Looks like they're getting short on advanced electronics. But the only real enemy they've got to fight are the HOP. They do have the Xenon remnants here in Emperor's Pride, but nothing seems to be happening on that front. In any case, we have Saven the Free Family Split and eliminated the Xenon presence contesting the area. We now own all of the entrances to the Free Family Split. Oh, I did forget to mention one thing. I'll probably be putting up another manufacturing node in Mitsuno's Revelation with miners out of Defiance and Sacrifice. But the idea is being only 2 jumps away, they can help supply my Matrix 451 station. That'll spread out the manufacturing base a little bit. So I'm not super dependent on... I'm not stressing the resources in these systems here and in Tharka's Ravine. In any case, that was this episode. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching. And goodbye.